Miller,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Airport Authority? With none, we'll move on to current business. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve the annual renewal of the contract with Taylor Aviation for management of the airport.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. With that, we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call, please.
Larry Church,
Here.
Tim Poplin, Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
Trace Connor, John Kramer,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Eddie Foreman, Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Gas Authority? With none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. We'll move on to the regular meeting of the Seminole Medical Authority. Roll call, please, Jay.
John Kramer,
Here.
Trace Connor, Chris Anson,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
Corey Crabtree, Tim Poplin, Eddie Foreman, Larry Church,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Do we have any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Medical Authority? Move on to current business. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve the landlord consent and estoppel certificate related to the sale of the hospital to SSM Healthcare of Oklahoma.
As you probably are aware, our hospital has sold the operations to St. Anthony's, SSM. And you probably are also aware that about roughly half of the hospital is owned by the medical authority. So all the clinic area, all the administration area is owned by our medical authority. The emergency room and that side of the hospital is owned by another firm out of Chicago that leases to the hospital. So one of the things that we've done since I've been here and before I got here was we leased the wing that was constructed by a GO bond, a general obligation bond, back to whomever is operating the hospital. So this is a formality to get it out of the hands of Alliance and into the hands of St. Anthony's. So we're stopping what we're doing with Alliance, and we're beginning a new relationship. They're actually adopting the same lease, but it is still a new relationship with our St. Anthony's group.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. With that, we'll move on to the regular meeting of the Seminole Municipal Authority. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Eddie Foreman, Tim Poplin, Dana Miller,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Trace Connor, Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, I'm not sure why I'm asking this now that we have the sign-up sheet, but it's still on our paper, so I'll ask it anyway. But are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Municipal Authority? With none, we'll move on to approvals and acceptances. Bids, item 1. Consideration and possible action to approve the sole bid of $159,000 for pipe bursting 1,500 feet of 12-inch sewer line from Bourne Boulevard to Roosevelt Street, a capital improvement project budgeted for $150,000.
Motion to approve.
Yeah.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Okay, I guess it passed by one vote. I didn't hear really very many, did you?
I said aye.
That's the one I heard.
Okay.
Okay,
I did, maybe I didn't.
okay. I just didn't hear it, so I
I don't know how that
caught me
much
off guard.
power.
All right, we'll go to the regular meeting of the Seminole City Council. Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin, Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Trace Connor, Chris Anson,
Here.
Eddie Foreman, Dana Miller,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If you'd stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Corey, would you read our pledge of allegiance?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. God, I thank you for everyone that's here. I would ask that you would bless our decisions, our discussions. Bless this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll move on to appearances or petitions from the audience. And we have a couple signed up. Ms. Davis, you'd like to come up?
Hi, y'all. My name is Stephanie Davis, and I live in Ward 1. I just wanted to hop up here to give everyone a friendly reminder that as of March 26, I am no longer the contact for the trash at Chase Park. If Ward 1 residents have any issues, I just encourage them to report it on the CPR app, email their city council people, or reach out to a member of the park board. I also just want to say thank you to whoever it was on the city staff who addressed the trash can issue at Veterans Park. During Made in Oklahoma, our leadership Seminole group was on trash duty, and we found a trash can in disrepair with some jagged edges. It was reported on the Handy Dandy CPR app, and we had a response by the next day. And then by the next weekend's event, we had a brand new trash can that we could brag about to all the visitors that came. And I even got to make a video of it that has over 10,000 views on TikTok. So just want to say thank y'all, and hope you have a great night.
Thank you. And we have Jackie Dill.
I was going to speak, but I'm gonna wait until next one.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to appointments and elections. Consideration and possible action to approve the mayoral appointment of Arpoka Daniels to the Seminole Housing Authority to fill the position vacated by James Garrison.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll move on to awards and presentations. Recognition of Seminole Storm Spotters by Ernie Willis, our Emergency Management Director.
Thank you for the opportunity to recognize my spotters.
As you all know, I love what I do. And part of the reason I do is because I've got a wonderful group of volunteers. And I think you all probably know, but I want to make sure you know what an asset they are to this community. They don't receive any compensation whatsoever from the city. I do understand they're provided liability insurance if they comply with the annual training, the Storm Spotter training, which is basically a Weather 101 program. I don't know that I have a spotter that hasn't done beyond Weather 101. They're all very knowledgeable about weather, some of them even more so than I am. And I'd like to recognize the spotters, as you may or may not know, are very important in the fact that here in Seminole, we are 35 miles east of the Twin Lakes radar, east of Norman. At the intersection of 9 and 99, the beam cannot see below 3,465 feet. So there's a lot of weather that occurs between 3,465 feet and the ground. And without spotters, we wouldn't know what that was. And like I say, they're all trained to do that. I asked all of them a week or so ago to tell me when they started becoming a spotter, and I'm sure a couple of new ones knew, but they didn't respond, but most of us can't tell you when we started being a spotter. Jim Collier, if you'd rise, Jim. Jim Collier's response was, well, Buster Bolin, Barstow Gilkey, and Warren Schroeder were part of the civil defense back there. Does anybody here know those guys? Everyone, that's what I told my wife. I said there wouldn't be anybody here but me and Jim that knew those two.
And to have such a young wife.
Yeah. I'll add this. Jim is truly one of my veteran spotters. When Jim speaks, the radios go silent because we know it's real. And on May 10th, 2010, Jim was out west of town, and when he broke in on the radio and said, "I've got a tornado," listen, we all kicked into high gear. Fortunately, these guys have developed a knack of trying to develop a defense. Jim was able to buffer that thing. How, I don't know. Him and his son Corey were out there, and they buffered that thing, and it kicked it just about a mile north of town. But there were still 56 homes destroyed, and over 20 with major damage and 100 affected by that tornado. And you can only imagine if it had continued down Highway 9, the devastation that would have occurred on that deal. Now in that, thank you, Jim, you can sit down if you'd like. You know, not long after Jim, Steve came to town and Jeff volunteered to be spotters. Well, I use that term loosely. Steve's becoming a spotter. He's more of a Val. You know, he really wants to chase the storm. The same day that Jim's reporting a tornado, you know, Steve's got his foot in the gas tank going north out on Highway 3, and the mayor, were you mayor then?
No.
No, okay. Well, Jeff was
City
in the
councilman.
shotgun seat, and he's screaming, turn around, and they do, just in time for that high line to fall down and trap that car at, 121 and Highway 3. And that's helped. That's kind of broken it. Fortunately, I have a tool now that the sheriff provides me called GeoSafe, so I can kind of keep up with my spotters now. Some of them don't always turn their GeoSafe on, even though I ask them to. But Steve is definitely one of my good spotters, always there to go. Jeff has been great over the years. He's helped me in the EOC. As many of you know, his mother's still alive at 98.
I'll probably be in trouble now, thanks, that was a trap.
Oh, boy.
And,
You did it.
but fortunately for me, he's moved out on the west side of town and has a nice balcony and can still spot for me, even though he does it from his home. We also have Adam Baker, who I'm very fortunate that First United Bank gives him the latitude to go and run whenever he needs to. I don't hear this, well, I can't go. I'm into something that can't get loose from me. I also have back here Daniel Fritz. Daniel's my David Payne, okay? He's a lot better, but when it started out, if there was a cloud in the sky, we had a tornado. You know, and I'd hear this, no, Daniel, that's not a tornado. But I can assure you, and he can tell you, you can talk to him. It takes some experience. When you first get called out to be a spotter, your adrenaline pumps up, and you do. You see a funnel in every cloud, and it takes hours of boredom to sit out there and watch lightning flashes and what have you, and you finally kind of come to the realization. Fortunately, over the years, the cell phones have come along with radar, and we can kind of know what's happening before it happens. Now, I pretty much stay in the EOC. It's my job to try to keep these guys safe.
What's the EOC?
The EOC, well, you know, it's called Emergency Operations Center. I learned a new term at the conference the other day. I really have an IOC, which is Incident Operations Center. A true Emergency Operations Center has the capacity for all the department heads and outside folks like OG&E and ODOT and what have you to be collected together. So it's truly, and it's pretty much set up to be a one-man show. And I have to thank Sharon and Steve and you guys, because my EOC is as good as any of them. I have multiple ways to communicate with the Weather Service and know what's going on. Now, I will say this, redundancy is very important in the fact that when Jim called in the tornado on May 10th, if you remember, we'd already had storms come across. They had fatalities in Pink, and there had been damage in Moore and Norman. Well, guess what? The radio to the Weather Service didn't work. The internet didn't work. I just had to pick up the phone and call them and tell them we got a tornado. You know, and the other thing is, and my spotters will tell you this because we live it every day, when tornadoes and storms get east of Oklahoma City, there's just not the media coverage.
Right.
So, you know, they don't get to listen to the TV and the radio and know what's going on quite as much as the folks southwest of Oklahoma City do, because everybody's tracking it in. I do have in the EOC 3 TVs. I watch 4, 5, and 9, and it's very helpful to see when the helicopter's up and spotting something to know what's going on. One other thing I want to add about the value of these spotters, like I say, they don't make a dime. They all drive their personal vehicles. Steve even has his pickup named Stormy. He had a car before that called Dimples, and that was because of all the hailstorm. You still have your old car? Yep. Jim's got, what model is that now?
It's a 2013.
13. It's his older car. You won't see him driving it much unless he's spotting, because it's their car. They're out there, and there's a good chance they're going to get hit with a hailstone. And Baker doesn't care. He can afford. He'll buy a new one tomorrow if it gets damaged. It's not a big deal. But they all provide their own radios, and we've upgraded our radio to a repeater where they can get by with handhelds if it's working. So any technology is certainly vulnerable. With that, do you have any questions about our spotters and what they do?
I have a couple of comments. One is, Jim, you can see how well he's done. He survived all those years without, any damage, right? It's just being aware, because as you said, there's turbulence in the clouds, and you can see things turning, and it's okay if it's turning this way. When it starts turning this way, that's when you need to worry, and it's difficult. But I was going to say a little bit about Ernie. Having helped him in the Incident Operations Center, it's amazing. He has 3 or 4 radios going. He has 3 TVs with the sound down, but so he can see. There's a weather radio that goes off. He's getting radio calls from police or from not just Seminole, but Seminole County, Maud, other people as well, and he's managing all this while people are calling him on his phone saying, hey, should I take cover? During all this. And it is amazing to watch, and he has it down. He knows where the spotters are. As he said, when GeoSafe came online, that was a great way, but he has a pad. He writes down where they're at just as a backup. And redundancy is key. And, I think he manages it very well. And thank you for your service, Ernie.
You're welcome. Let me introduce Rhonda, by the way. Since Corey moved off, Rhonda is now Jim's shotgun rider, okay? And we like that. Now, Adam has to go out a lot by himself. Bob Swearengen's one of my newest spotters, and Bob rode shotgun with him pretty much until Terry got sick. And I look for Bob to probably want to jump back in with Adam down the road. Daniel, you want to introduce your shotgun?
This is my helper, Trina Reeser, and she finds storms interesting, and she's kind of like, it's time to go somewhere else yet. I'm like, no, Ernie hasn't talked, say we're free to go, or go somewhere else, or there's a hailstorm coming, or a tornado coming, but she helps me out quite a bit, and I appreciate it.
And I don't know if I made that clear. These guys, I did kind of digging at Steve. They do have locations. Steve primarily goes to the Mission. Adam goes to a lease road that's west of the Mission. Josh Pyron, who's not here, is one of my spotters. He'll go down to Jack's Flex Pipe. Mike Westmoreland, who's one of our spotters, he now works for Rural Water, whatever, but if he's in town or close, he'll go down on Wolf Hill. And we try to position them out so the storm doesn't obscure somebody's view of the tornado. And you know, you all may not know, it may be, I don't know if anybody's still here, but our policy is we don't sound the sirens if we can visually observe a tornado. If we observe the tornado, then we sound the sirens. The exception to that is nighttime. If we can't see the tornado, then we will sound the sirens. And I will say this, because I'm sure every one of you have gotten criticisms about me, and that's why I have tough skin. A quasi friend of mine, and I teasingly call him, he is a friend of mine, Dr. Vivek Mahale, defined the quasi-linear convection system, which we knew years ago as downburst and microburst and whatever. Well, now they've defined those, and they are actually spin-ups that occur in a bow line or a leading edge. I don't blow the siren. By the time they warn us on them, they're done. They're that quick. I cannot push the button quick enough to blow the siren, and it's my strong conviction that that would do a whole lot more harm than it does good. So these guys are all aware. We know when those systems are coming through, and as I've told Vivek several times, why he has to do them between 2 and 4 in the morning, I don't know. But we stand ready, because what's going to happen if we have damage like El Reno did, that was a QLCS, we just have to go in recovery mode. There's just not time to do that. There's no way to kick people out of their homes and whatever, because you got a line coming through, because we've seen them form way down or way up, and fortunately my guys will keep putting the defense up, and we won't see them come right in the middle. Thank you all very much.
Couple of comments on,
I have some questions.
Go ahead.
no, after you, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Willis, I just want to thank you and your storm spotters. Did I hear right that you're a storm spotter also?
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want a couple things. I just want to say, I mean, more. I don't know how you can express more gratitude than a thank you, a heartfelt thank you to you all. Because when inclement weather happens, I don't know about you all, but we take cover. We close the windows, we go in the house, we watch and there's a level of fear that comes over until someone somewhere has warned you about what to do next. And I have never thought about who those people are. I know there's a siren that goes off, and I know what to do after that. But I have never, in the time I've lived here, ever considered that there's people out there putting themselves and their families and their property in harm's way to keep me safe and my family. So there's just a ton of gratitude that I want to express to you all, not only for me and my family, but for my ward and for the whole city. And you do it all with such, I think that's probably the best way to do it, is you're not shouting it from the rooftops, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing for my community. You're doing it quietly, and you're keeping us safe. And that's just, to me, that it doesn't get much better than that. So I want to thank you all.
That's exactly the way these folks operate. I will add to that, you need a weather radio,
Okay.
okay? And you can monitor my spotters. Jeff and I talked about this today with one of his former co-workers out at Enviro. our channel, the 155.115, it's not a digitalized channel. Any old scanner, any old VHF radio can tune to it, and you can listen to it, and you can get it firsthand when and that 155.115 comes off the repeater, so you don't have to have very good reception to be able to hear it. So, but thank you for that, and like I say, the weather radio, these houses are built so well now, you know, I worry that if I blew the siren and you were 5 blocks away from it, you wouldn't hear it. You wouldn't hear it, so.
Well, thank you. Y'all are true heroes. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd like to add a couple of things. Number one is the communication that happens between the National Weather Service and the EOC or the IOC. They are more dependent than any citizen can really understand on the storm spotters and the reports that Ernie is giving them from the storm spotters. Ernie mentioned, but I can't count the number of times where we've been in the field and there's been damage in Moore or in Norman or in Midwest City, and the storms are coming to us and the coverage almost stops. I mean, it's just, if there's power lines down or cars damaged or windows severely blown out that make good TV, our coverage is dismal. The date that Ernie was talking about, I recorded what was going on Channel 4, and at the time that Mike Morgan was saying, you know what, we've got a tornado over in Seminole just south of Brahms. Now, back to you, Ron. What's going on down here at Midwest City? Well, at that very moment, it was hitting Miller's farm. It was a mile and a half away. So if anyone was listening to that in Northwood or Eastgate, I mean, they're full-blown panicked when the tornado is actually away from them. And we were able to tell Ernie and relay back to the National Weather Service what was going on. The bank of radios and the communication equipment that Ernie has is impressive. It's pretty much state-of-the-art. There's obviously, we could spend more and do more. We don't need $1 million or 1 million watt Doppler radar for us, but we pretty much have it covered with our eyes. And I really, really sincerely appreciate everybody that goes out and does what they do. Good job.
He made a point very subtly, but I want to emphasize it. The tornado track on May 10th that was recorded on radar was 1 mile different than the damage. And the reason is the tilt of the storm, and those of us that have done spotter training know that storms almost always tilt. Tilt of the storm was such, and it went so high, it was such a massive circulation, that the tilt was actually out here hitting the ground a mile away from the track that the Weather Service recorded on that. And he talked about the Weather Service, it's a two-way street. I was on a webinar at 10 o'clock this morning. Baker can tell you when we're having ice and snow, I'm tuned into those guys, and we can't always go to the bank on what they say. They almost always put a if in there or maybe, but without it, we wouldn't be revved up and ready. And I can tell you, I don't know, were all of you paying attention today of what was going on? Yeah, you know, so yeah, all day long they were all paying attention, and we got a message about, it actually took till about 4:30 that the cap was in place and we were going to stay dry, but we were all pretty much on our toes till then. So.
The one thing I'd like for you just to maybe follow up on, you talked about the radars on our phone, but the lag, you know, people may think they're live, but it's not.
They're not, no. And when the radar is in full mode, what am I?
Sweep.
But the
Rotation, or
not precipitation mode, but reflectivity and velocity. It takes 5 minutes for that radar to make a sweep. Okay, and I can sit there and I can watch it, and the EOC and the little clock down there will just update when it gives me a new update. And it's scary. You know, when I've got Steve and Adam out here on the southwest corner of town, there's a storm coming in, and I don't know for 5 minutes whether it spun up or spun down. You know, I'm relying heavily on them. And I've told them to get out of the way. You know, we just don't know. So get out of the way. Find a place of safety. And to add to your comment, when I started this, Claudia was the principal at Northwood. Super building, Herb Gunner had set away all the safe places. Our standard operating procedure was if I went out on storms and there was tornadoes, she went back to school. Well, when she quit, I had to put her in a flat safe because now she doesn't have any place to go, so.
That brings up another subject that the council from time to time gets asked, especially this time of year, and that is tornado shelters for the public. So we've checked so many times about doing that. And what we consistently give, whether it's from Midwest City, who really got taught a lesson in that they had public shelters, tornado shelters. And they had an EF4, I believe, that was coming right at them. People were parking on Sunny Lane Road 4 deep, and nobody could get to the shelter, and there's a tornado bearing down on them. So they immediately closed their public facilities because there was no way to organize it in a quick fashion to make sure that everybody gets safe. They were much better off sheltering in place than they would have been in a car on Sunny Lane Drive. So we tend to side on that it's much better for you to shelter in place than to try to panic and get there at the last second, and lo and behold, somebody's parked in the driveway and you can't get in.
Or the door's locked.
Or the door's locked, even worse.
And I use our mass notification system, which you all renew the contract on every year, not to say there's a tornado warning, but to put it out there that there are storms approaching capable of producing a tornado. Take your precautions now. And you may have, if you follow me on Facebook and on the emergency management deal, I shared a graphic that the Weather Service has come up with. If you live in a trailer house, get out of it. Get out of it, you know. There's just nothing good about staying in the trailer house. But do it timely. Do it timely, because a car's not much better than your trailer house if you're caught in a tornado in the car. But, you know, we've seen it time and time again. Last tornado hit, trailer houses took the brunt of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to public hearing. Public hearing for a budget modification of the Oklahoma Department of Commerce's Community Development Block Grant, Coronavirus Round 3, CDBG-CV3. Ms. Emmett?
Good evening.
Madam?
Before we get started with this, I just want you guys to know that we try to make sure that Ernie has all the equipment that he needs. And last budget year, you guys approved for him some new radio equipment in his budget. That will come before you next month, and we do appreciate everything that you do for our people. So, public hearing, I know you guys have heard acronyms upon acronyms when I come up here, so I'm going to try to explain a little bit. A community development block grant. The funds come from the Housing and Urban Development Authority, federal. It's administered by the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. They take that money and they divide it, they request grant applications for municipalities, and most of these go to these grants go to the city to work on areas with low to moderate income. This particular grant, our entire city is 51.4% low to moderate income. So we were able to apply for the entire city. What we're doing with the money, I applied for $200,200 for some upgrades to heat and air units for some of our city buildings, including here, which really needs it because it's hot in here. But we were approved for the money. They came back and said, we have more money to give away. Do you have any other buildings that you need? Do you have anything else that you want to do? We got a hold of Matt at the Wellness Center, and we got some quotes for some of the air conditioning, and we were able to include eight units, eight out of 12 of the units there. The most used units will be replaced first. Added to, and some additional things for $274,000 more dollars. And they approved it. So we are looking at almost $500,000 to replace in all of our buildings. Public hearing is something that we have to do because we're modifying the budget through Department of Commerce. And you guys have approved it every step of the way, and I can't thank you enough.
You're welcome.
But if anyone has any questions, you have anything?
Especially the public. Do the
Especially the public, yes.
Have any questions? So, I want to ask the question, I know the answer, but who primarily does our grant writing?
No.
I would pass the buck if I could, but that would be me.
Mhm. And so how do you find out about these grants? Or if something comes up, how do you do research? I know that's a little different than what's scheduled here, but I think it's important that we all kind of understand that process.
It's a great question. We have a really good staff who we keep our eyes and ears open. We go through grants.com. We go through, Department of Commerce has a full website page just for CDBG grants, and it gives deadlines. There are certain federal grants that we know about. There are certain state grants that we already know about that we try to keep in the loop, so that we know when deadlines are. If we find a need, we try to go after as much money as we can. There's travel and tourism, there's community development block grants, there's, sorry? FAA is a big one right now.
Administration.
Oklahoma Aeronautics, they've all been really, really kind to Seminole, and they continue to do so.
We also know that since you're dealing with the government and entities, that the paperwork's probably 2 or 3 pages you have to fill out, right?
Yeah,
Is that-
not much.
that's right? I mean, roughly, what is, I mean, I see them, I sign them, but, you know, it's important, I think, that everyone understands, it's just not a, get a little thing and sign off on it and away you go.
No. As a matter of fact, I asked you to the office yesterday to sign off on a new FAA grant that we can start some design work on relocation of our taxiway. And if you counted all the signatures that you had to have, there were 14. They want you to sign off on everything, and each page has to be marked. If you noticed, there are check boxes on a lot of it, but you have to have, you have to know what you want. You have to have some idea of how much it's going to cost before anyone will ever talk to you. We've got a great staff. We have a great leader who says, we need some engineering and we need to get these projects on the shelf. That is instrumental. I can't stress enough how much you guys play into this to help us go ahead and get engineering done on projects that if somebody comes to us and says, I have some money I need to get rid of in a grant, we can say we have projects. Show us what we need to do.
And if you don't have the engineering done, they'll go to the next one. Who's got
Exactly.
something
They're
ready
not
to
gonna
go?
wait.
We
They're not
need to
gonna
be
wait.
ready to go. We gotta spend it by December. Can you spend it that fast? Absolutely. But you're right, Mayor. Every one of these grants, it takes volumes of paperwork to
And
get
that's
it.
just to write the grant. I mean, the administration on the back end is just as tedious.
Yep.
Thank you for doing that for us.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do I need to close the hearing? Do I need to
You ready to
close
close it?
Okay. With that, we'll close the public hearing for the budget modification of the Oklahoma Department of Commerce's Community Development Block Grant, Coronavirus Round 3. With that, we'll move on to approvals and acceptances. Ordinances, item 1. Consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1264, an ordinance amending the employee retirement system defined contribution plan for the city of Seminole.
You're on.
So every few years, we hear from our retirement plan administrators to update with a joiner agreement our ordinances that cover the two defined contribution plans that we have for retirement. And that's what this is. I couldn't begin to tell you what all's in it, but that's what they do. And so we approved this. I think the last one we did may have been 2 years ago. So that's what it is.
And this
before you.
is based on federal changes that
Right.
have occurred. And
Right,
what
the
you have
IRS,
to do or-
exactly.
Or can do or not do.
Right.
And of course, you looked at your packet, you saw several pages of items that were in there. It was great reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank
Motion
you.
to, motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Court Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 2, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1265, an ordinance amending the employee retirement system, defined contribution plan for the city manager, city clerk, or public works director for the city of Seminole.
Same thing.
Same thing. just-
Same exact thing, yes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Court Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Current business. 3, monthly update by representatives of Canadian Valley Electric Cooperative regarding the installation of fiber for internet services within the city of Seminole.
Thank you for having us here. First and foremost, we had a great time at the Made in Oklahoma Fair. Man, it was a great turnout. There was a lot of people, vendors set up. Looked like everybody was having a good time. We got a lot of good comments and questions from both people in the city of Seminole and, quite frankly, all around. I think I spoke to people as far south as Wanette, all the way out to Yukon, a lot from Henrietta and stuff like that. So it was good to see everybody walking around downtown with their family, a lot of dogs, and just having a good time. And we were very appreciative to be a part of that. So thank you very much. Just to give you a quick update, we're well into our planning and design stage. So at this point, we've completed about 77% of the collection / validation of all the data. So what that equates to is they've already mapped out a little over 2,400 meters throughout the city and done 532,000 plus feet line of the mapping. So we got about 600,000, a little over 600,000. So we got a little bit to go, but we've got most of that knocked out. And looking to wrap that up here over the next couple of weeks, as far as that goes. The pending items that we have, just to kind of give you full awareness, we are still finalizing on where we're gonna set that hut, for where all the fiber connections are gonna come within the city. We've been working with the city. There's a few, locations. We just gotta really narrow that down, get that selection made. And then, of course, finalizing the agreement. I've been in communication with Brad, with, Steve, and I think that's going pretty well. When we get to the legal side of things, they just don't quite move as fast as you know, the sales guy would appreciate for it too. So I think everything's going pretty well as far as that goes, and it's been a pleasure working with you guys as we start this project off. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them right now.
I just want to know how I missed your booth when I was down in Macon.
It was right in the middle.
Right on the corner, right down,
Missed it.
I mean,
Right at the
almost
end.
right in front of City Hall there, so.
I missed it completely.
You had your eye on the Indian tacos.
I don't know.
And they were pretty good,
It was,
so.
I don't know, I missed it, but thank
Just
you
for the record, I found you.
Yes, yes, you did.
Mayor.
It's good to hear that you had a lot of questions.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement.
So as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When do you project construction will actually start? Not asking where it's going to start, but from a sales guy, we understand that the actual guys doing it are going to have a different answer, but when would you best guess be?
So of course, we gotta get this agreement all wrapped up.
Right.
As far as that goes. That's really first and foremost as a part of that. And then, they're wrapping up that design part of it. Once they get that done, then we should be, ready to go, I would think 60, 90 days.
Okay,
You know, like we talked about early on, most of the work is not really seen. Once they get the plows in the ground, that's really kind of at the final stages and when that project's gonna really take off. So there's a lot of, it doesn't look like that things are being done, when you're talking about building fiber and things of that nature, because it goes into the planning, the permitting, the design stages, and, you know, once it's time to build the house goes up pretty quick.
yeah. Could I give you a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
You might want to look at changing your logo to "We Aren't Suddenlink."
We will take that, to the board, see
Okay.
what they
Well,
say.
that's just a suggestion.
Well, we'll have it say, Steve says. All right, thanks, guys.
Item 4, consideration and possible action to approve renewal for 1 year of the mutual assistance agreement with Seminole State College.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 5, consideration and possible action to approve renewal for 1 year of the nutrition site agreement with New Age Project, Inc. for use of the Heritage House.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll move on to remarks and inquiries of mayor and council members. I just want to remind everyone that since we did it, it's kind of funny when items come through that they want it to be celebrated for the month. We meet the second Tuesday of the month, which could be 2 weeks into the month, and it's kind of odd to me. So last month I did something, and then it's like we kind of forgot maybe that we did it. So I'm not sure what the right answer is, but I just want to remind everyone that last month we voted to make April as Autism Awareness Month. And so I just wanted to refresh everyone's memory that we did that last month. So we may not do that in the future, I don't know, we'll see. Also, one thing I'd like to clarify is that if a citizen wants to come up and speak to the council, they can come to the meeting and sign up before the meeting starts, and you're able to speak on items that aren't on the agenda. So it would be something that you specifically wanted to share with the council. I know there's been some information about, no, you have to sign up at City Hall before, the meetings. That's not true. You can sign up right before our meetings start. Once the meetings start, though, I have the sign-up sheet, so those are kind of closed at that point. But, we're not doing this to keep our citizens from being able to speak to the council or share their concerns. We're just doing it so it's a way that can be managed. We know who we have here, and we don't miss someone. And so that's strictly the reason we made the change. It gives it more structure. But we do want to hear from our citizens if there's an issue. But I would encourage you to get with your council member in your ward, because there may be actions that can be taken before you even need to come to the meeting and speak, because we're not able to take action during the meeting on a problem. So that may extend it another month if it's something that would need to be addressed by the council. So I just wanted to share that so that everyone is clear. You can sign up before the meeting starts and be able to address items that are non-agenda items. And if it's an agenda item, then you have the opportunity to speak during that time when we're covering it. With that, we'll move on to Ward 1, Larry Church.
I was listening, of course, my interest primarily is psychology and psychiatry and that sort of stuff, and the human brain. I wish I had one. But I was listening to some experts talk about the World Wide Web and how it has grown exponentially, and how it's the one system that we've set up that hasn't failed. And all this while, that it's been growing and building. It's about to approach the complexity of one human brain. So, just something to think about. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Ward 1, Dana Miller.
Hey everyone, welcome to Ward 1. So just a couple things. I have two constituent issues. I know that Mayor and Steve are aware. So just want to put it on the record. I'm a little disappointed. I'm a lot disappointed in our state partners in ODOT for some of the, one particular instance of a constituent of mine who is an elderly person. And she sent me pictures yesterday, I believe yesterday, of her yard. And when the road has been worked on and new lines were put in, her yard is it's got just giant holes in it, and it's filled up with water and mud. And it's pretty heartbreaking because she at one point was going to go out and try to shovel and straighten it out herself. And this is somebody who is, again, like I said, elderly, was looking forward to having her family over for Easter, and she can't. So when it starts to disrupt people's lives, and I feel like, if, she goes out there and maybe ends up hurting herself, I don't know how we compel ODOT to do the right thing and take care of our citizens when they've been displaced or, put out when this type of thing happens. But I know there's been several communication and they still haven't been to her home as of today. I checked in with her this afternoon. They still haven't been there. So just wanted to put that out there. If anybody from ODOT's listening, or I don't know how we get them to do the right thing. It's really frustrating. So that's one. And then the other one is a water issue that one of my constituents has where there seems to be quite a bit of miscommunication or maybe, misunderstanding between the constituent and the water department. So she's seeking kind of some expedited solution on that because I think it's going into several months now. So, but you all are aware of that. And again, just thank you again to everyone for everything you do. We had the blackout a few nights ago with the wind, and it's just one of those things where you think about all of the folks who are doing things behind the scenes, keeping you safe, and then we hear it today, with Sharon, being that graceful duck in the water. Everything looks great on top, but there's a lot of busy things going on underneath. And so I just want to thank all of our city employees and frontline folks for keeping us safe and keeping us moving on. I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ward 2, John Crane. Ward 3, Corey Crabtree.
Man, little people here. First off, Made in Oklahoma Festival was great. I have not seen that many vendors here in town in a long time, but it was great. If you guys did make it out, you might want to do that again next year, but the weather was also perfect. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't cold. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, it was sleet and ice on Made in Oklahoma Day, but this was actually pretty nice. So something else to the storm spotters, that's something that's always interested me. So Adam, next time you need a shotgun and your wife doesn't want to go, give me a call. I'll go with you.
Wait, why not me?
You're a spotter. I'm talking about a shotgun. I don't want to call
Just
the
because
shot
I almost
personally.
got him killed doesn't mean I'll do the same for you.
Just saying, but, and then also, if you guys get a chance, of course, I know many of you know that Bob Swearingen lost his wife, Terry. It's probably important to us to remember that he's there for us at the time of loss. It's probably important to be there for him as well. I went by on the way to sign the book, and there was just a massive number of people that were going through. So just to remember him this week, because that's got to be hard on him, I'm sure. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Ward 4, Chris Hansen.
I don't have much to add. I would like to add to Larry's comment, or what I perceived is that we really don't need a brain, just fast, reliable internet, which is coming.
Well, and we're taking steps toward that with
Yes,
code.
yes.
Are we gonna eventually just plug it in? Or you-
I probably will download ourselves to a computer chip and they'll mine us for carbon.
Okay.
So,
All right, reports, city manager.
I'll just start by applauding the Kramers again. It's the time of year when we have the baseball and the softball crews kicking off at the same time. I'm going to tell Bryant Baker that his crews are doing fantastic work and have logged a lot of hours trying to get the softball and baseball fields up in a condition that we all can be proud of. So good work out there, really good work. The budget work sessions and the public hearings are about to kick off. It's that time of year. So if you don't mind, get with me on some of the better days for you all to try to meet up, and let's get some things on the paper and on the board that we can put in front of you that hopefully get some more fun projects happening. Our staff is raring to go, so we're waiting on orders. So that'll be happening coming very soon. A double thank you to the storm spotters out there that do it and do it extremely well. We jokingly call ourselves the storm suppression team. So when it gets really hairy, we get these guys out here and they kind of suppress that dude and try to keep it away from us. So good job. I'm not sure why Jackie didn't speak. I spent some time with her this morning. The Arts Council is continuing their pursuit of a mural program. And for me personally, I'm in favor of seeing some new creative art that works for our community. And I'm excited. They've got some really good ideas, and they've got contacts with great artists that can make it happen. So we're trying to find some locations that work well. I mentioned to her that I felt like the entries to our community, that they need help. We can use the arts to help us convey our message that we're the place to be. So looking forward to pursuing that a little bit more. Also on the Arts Council, they had an autism awareness fund run, did a good job. Hopefully next year that thing ramps up a little bit more and get a lot more runners in that. Chris, we didn't see you there, so next year when you're through with your masters, we hope that you'll be out there with us. Okay, wait a minute. I didn't actually run the 4K. I walked the majority of the 4K. Okay.
Blamed it on your dog, right?
And my dog was with me, so when she got tired, it was over. I wasn't about to carry her the rest of the way. All right, so I want to mention a couple of things. Both are for the community to help. If you're looking for a place to plug in, this is the place. We have a golf course work day coming up on the 23rd of April. Just meet out at Jimmy Austin Golf Course, and we will put a shovel in your hand or a rake, and we'll get some work done. We want that looking nice. This is the golf tournament time of year, and we have a ton of out-of-town people that come to play golf here, and we want to really show it off. So April 23rd. The trash pickup day is actually, it's a week long this time. We're going to run it, I think, Sharon, correct me, I think it's April 18th through the 23rd, and we're going to make Seminole sparkle. I will put a word in your ear that it's tough to find help these days. And you guys see the difference when we don't have a beautification officer, someone that's picking up our right-of-ways. It looks bad fast. Man, please encourage folks not to litter. It makes us look so bad, and it happens so quickly. And we're talking dozens of bags of waste that are being laid on the right-of-way. And so when we don't have a beautification officer like we don't right now, it shows and it makes our people uncomfortable. So no amount of murals or fun runs are going to help us look better until we do better about our litter. So I just want to encourage folks, have some ownership pride. This is your community, and we need to help each other. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, is it too late to say something? I actually forgot, and Steve, maybe you or Chief Withers can mention, I was, actually saw in the news where Seminole, our K-9 unit, had the largest drug bust in the city's history. Is there something you could tell us a little bit more about that?
He did okay. Yeah, no, it's, you know what? Let's put it where it is. You guys allowed that investment, and you invested in the drug animal, our K-9, Raven. She's just getting up and mature enough to really have an impact, and we're seeing it. I mean, we are really seeing some good things come of it, and hopefully we can deter someone away from Seminole. This is not the right place for you to do business. And that's kind of the primary objective with having that is we're not the right place. So, yeah, Officer Messner, doing a great job. Spent a ton of training hours, I can tell you for sure. It doesn't come easy. You have to work the Raven a lot. Any dog needs a lot of training. But, yeah, that was a big win, and it happened fast. I mean, she hasn't been active, how long, John? Yeah, less than a year, she has the biggest drug bust we've had, so big deal.
I hope Raven gets some extra treats or a raise or something.
I bet she
A new
did.
toy.
A new
probably is what
toy,
she'd
yeah.
rather have.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'd entertain a motion to, after I read this, enter into executive session. Consideration and possible action to enter into executive session under Oklahoma Statute 25, Section 307.b.4, confidential communication between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action. I'd entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
Motion to enter an executive session.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right,